Hello, property nomads. Hope you're well. Take you to an article from BBC. Oil giant Shell warns cutting production dangerous. And again, we're going to say that this is quite a lot of common sense coming from Shell here. Now, let's put our rose-tinted spectacles on. Of course, Shell are probably going to want to keep producing purely because they're probably making a lot of cash at the moment. And that means if you are an investor in Shell, you want your dividends. And from an investor's point of view, absolutely, this makes perfect sense. But also from a generic climate point of view, this also makes sense that they are telling us that cutting production is dangerous. And we've been saying this for quite a while now, and that story continues. So we're on a good old BBC. Let's go through the article. So cutting oil and gas production would be dangerous and irresponsible. And the boss of energy giant Shell has said, Wael Sawan, apologies if I've mispronounced your name there, insisted that the world still desperately needs oil and gas as moves to renewable energy were not happening fast enough to replace it. Well, this is absolutely spot on. We've been saying this for a while. Oil and gas are going to be around for a very, very, very long time. You need a combination of oil and gas for your baseload energy. And if you want to change that baseload energy, then you're going to need to change that to nuclear. And with the way that nuclear plants are run and all the bureaucracy here and whatnot in the West, that's very difficult to achieve because you're not exactly able to alter the supply of that stuff with a click of your finger and overnight. These things do take a lot of time. As Mr. Sawan also warned that increased demand from China and a cold winter in Europe could push energy prices and bills higher again. Again, absolutely, 100%. This makes a lot of sense. China's big reopening that was meant to fuel this worldwide demand hasn't quite happened for a multitude of reasons. Jeff Snyder at Eurodollar University explains it all quite well in his Monday to Friday podcast. I'd recommend going and checking that out. The demand from China hasn't been there. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be there. We don't know. Anything can happen. Also in Europe, we got away with it last winter because the winter was quite mild. If it was super freezing cold, then our demand for gas, oil, etc., would have gone through the roof. Luckily, we got away with one. But in this winter coming up, if that's not the case, then we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. And again, if that increase in demand is chasing a restricted supply, of course the price is going to go up. So again, this makes a lot of sense. Now, again, I understand rose-tinted spectacles. Yes, of course, they're going to keep wanting to produce and whatnot because they've got responsibilities there for their shareholders. Okay, but the points he's made so far are valid. I agree. However, naughty boy, you've angered the climate scientists and you've angered the climate activists. No bueno, my friend, unlucky. Professor Emily Schuckberg, or Schuckborough, my apologies if I've got your name wrong, a climate scientist at the University of Cambridge, said firms such as Shell should focus on accelerating the green transition rather than trying to suggest the most vulnerable in society are in any way best served by prolonging our use of oil and gas. Well, let's hang on a minute there. Let's hang on. You've got to remember that there's a few things with this. Number one, oil companies, gas companies such as Shell have been taxed to high heavens, these windfall taxes and whatnot. So investing in new oil and gas, it could work, it might not work, I don't know. But who are the most vulnerable people in society? What do they need? What are they going to need? They're going to need food, shelter, and all that sort of stuff. Do you think the most vulnerable people in society, or do you think many people here in the UK are going to be putting 15, 20 grand down to put an air source heat pump in? Do you think the same people are then going to want to, insulate their homes or anything like that? No, of course they're probably not. Absolutely. At the same time, all you've got to do is look at electric bills. Yeah, electric bills over the last couple of years have increased for various reasons we've discussed before. Okay, they're on their way down a little bit, but all it takes is, again, a turn in the weather or something to happen, and they'll go through the roof again. So it's okay saying that firms such as Shell should focus on accelerating the green transition. How do you expect to do that? How do you expect them to do that? Are you expecting them to just cut oil and gas completely? And oh my God, let's focus on getting all these wind turbines and solar power plants up and running. Yeah, okay. Well, that takes oil and gas. Do you want Shell to get these nuclear plants up and running? Probably you would want to do that, but then how do you do that sustainably? Probably not going to happen. Maybe, Professor, you need to speak to the government and ask them why they're not allowing all these plants and whatnot to be built as quickly as they can in order to help the UK energy security. I think you're asking the wrong people here. That's the point I'm trying to make. You're asking the wrong people. The challenge with government is that the very people that they aim to try to protect in society, i.e. the most vulnerable people, are the very people that they end up shooting in the foot. Because either they don't understand the policies that they're creating are going to affect those people, or they completely understand and they're just doing it anyway. I'm never going to probably be able to figure out which one of those it is. If you know, let me know, leave a note in the comments. The head of the UN, Antonio Guterres, recently said investment in new oil and gas production was economic and moral madness. And no, it's probably not economic madness, because if the price of a barrel of oil shoots up and goes through the roof, like it could do if we have a cold winter or Chinese demand, amongst other things, increases, and you're producing oil and you're going to make double the amount because of the price going up, that is not economic madness. That's why you're in charge of the UN and not a massive energy company, Mr. Guterres. Doesn't make sense. Is it moral madness? No, I disagree with that as well. Moral madness is trying to cut off your nose to spite your face, which is what we seem to be doing really well here in the UK and in the West. Absolutely not. Trying to force everyone onto a mixture of wind, solar, heat pumps, all this sort of nonsense. That's moral madness. Moaning about Saudi Arabia's human rights records whilst having one of the biggest arms transactions with Saudi Arabia, as the UK does. That's moral madness. So I completely disagree where you're coming from there, scaring people under the guise of climate change. Mr. Sawan did tell the BBC, he said, I respectfully disagree. He added, what would be most dangerous and irresponsible is cutting oil and gas production so that the cost of living, as we saw last year, starts to shoot up again. And again, we're going to leave it there for that. I totally agree with that. What he said is spot on. That whilst I think a lot of people would agree that in the very long run, if we're going to go to, again, solar, kinetic energy and that sort of stuff, and we have a base load energy of nuclear, that makes perfect sense. And we can achieve that, but everyone needs to be working on the same team, pushing in the right direction. That's clearly not the case at the moment, and it's way too easy. But I mean, people nowadays just seem to be offended by anything and everything, and seem to be offended so easily. It's sad and laughable at the same time. The point being that the climate people seem to be very quick to jump on the bandwagon without suggesting any good solutions. Now, if there were good solutions there, and these same climate people turning around and said, no, we need to get off oil and gas. By the way, nuclear, I'm on this. Let's focus on this because of A, B, and C. I think there'd be a lot more cohesion there, but there's not. It is just a case of, oh, how dare you produce oil and gas? What's the alternative? Well, solar, wind. Right, but you do know that's more harmful to the environment because of the production of things that are needed to create the things in the first place. My point exactly. So you're never going to win. I'll try and keep as sensible as I can. I'm probably always going to be on the other side of that, hence a contrarian style. But yeah, it's just another case of people getting upset about anything and everything in our wonderful society we've got in the 21st century. Point being, completely agree with Shell here, completely agree that cutting oil and gas production is no bueno. We're just cutting off our nose to spite our face. And I'm not surprised that the climate and eco warriors are getting offended by literally anything and everything at the moment. But we'll see what happens. If enough of us push back, like we're trying to do here on this channel and other channels that I know, then we've got to sort of push back on this narrative, and we're going to do that moving forwards. As always, like the YouTube channel, please press that bell notification thingy because you'll get notified when more videos come out. Trying to produce as many videos as we can. We need to spread this message as best as we can moving forwards. If you can do that, share this channel with as many people, subscribe to the channel, do that notification button. That'd be absolutely superb. See you in the next video.